welcome you back into studio here. And this is a really cool week that we're gearing up for here in the NBA because of all the movement we had over the summer. Yep. Nearly 40% or more than 40% of the league signing new contracts. Those players aren't eligible to be traded until this upcoming Sunday. It's the start or the unofficial start of trade season, and it could be a busy one. Let's focus here on Kevin Love to start. Jim Jackson, where do you think Kevin Love may wind up if indeed he's not going to be a member of the Cavaliers?
Well, I think circulating, you heard San Antonio, you heard Portland, of course. Houston has always been in the mix. I think that's a team. But it's all about, I think for me, a contender. But what do you have to give up? We talked about Portland a little bit. Could you do something with Whiteside and maybe Zach Collins to try to win now? Okay. I think in Houston, I think in Mike D'Antoni's system, that would fit perfect for what they want to do in regards to complement what Capella does on the outside, but also help, I think, free things up a little bit more for James Harden off the double teams and also Russell Westbrook.
They just don't have the assets.
But they don't have the assets. But what may be interesting, you're talking about competing and trying to win again, Toronto. Ooh, maybe they give up one of their young assets or something like that to get a Kevin Love. But the question you have to ask yourself is if Kevin Love was a free agent right now, would you pay him 4 years, $90 million? Because that's what you have to really absorb and think about it if you're a GM. And if that's the case, that means you're willing to give up some assets to try to win now, knowing how good he's playing and what a compliment he could be.
But would it concern you guys, I want to get your take, Mac, about where you think he can go, but would it concern you about his history of injuries?
Well, yes, it would. I mean, it really would. But does that outweigh my willingness to win a championship now and figure out how to monitor his minutes with the squad that we may have that can offset the load on his body to win a championship? And that's something the GM has to, determine.
No, I agree. And then you got to say to yourself, do I want to be able to play a completely different style of basketball than we're playing now? Boston's a team that he might fit in.
Right.
Because here's the thing. With Kevin, he can really rebound the ball. Everybody knows he can go get it off the board. You can play the 5 out with Kevin. He can be the center, because there's not that many centers in here that, the Embiids and stuff he'd struggle with. But you can, for times in the game, you can play small with Love, who's going to rebound the ball, have 5 out, he makes the 3, he can really pass the ball. That's one thing that I haven't seen Cleveland use him as much in, at the elbow,
right,
at the top of the key. When he was in Minnesota, they ran offense through him. He can really, really pass, and I coached him for a while, and the kid's got great vision. So you can play completely different. Now, what's the price tag for you being able to play the 5-out offense that everybody plays right now? He's as good a three-point shooter, better three-point shooter than Brook Lopez, and that's what they do. He's going to rebound the ball really well. It's not as big as Brook, but you can play that same style of basketball. So I look at all these teams that say, boy, if we have Love, we can start him at the 4, but we can play small and have a 5-out lineup. And that 5-out lineup has been murder on a lot of teams. So any team, Houston, you're right, because D'Antoni would fit in there very nicely. He and Capella would be a nice compliment. Capella's big enough to guard the guys. So the biggest thing is just you got to get the money right to try to trade him, and it's going to be tough.
Or you give up. What is your threshold for giving up a young asset?
Yeah, young talent,
for the future. And again, if you're trying to win it now, you kind of forego that a little bit and say we need to make sure our window of opportunity is now.
Well, let me ask you this. If money wasn't a factor, which we know it is, but if it wasn't a factor, would you give up equal assets to get LaMarcus Aldridge or Kevin Love?
Oh, in today's game, Kevin Love.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In today's game, because of the pick and pop aspect of the game, he provides so much value for you out on the team. And even if he's shooting 37% from the three-point line. Okay, so you have to guard him. Sure. So the pick and roll game is totally different with a Kevin Love than it is with a LaMarcus Aldridge.
Better passer than LaMarcus.
Oh, yeah.
He can make passes from the perimeter, guys cutting. He can facilitate. He can do a lot of stuff. So like you say, in today's game, it's Kevin Love. For all the different ways that he can beat you from the perimeter and still defensive rebound the ball, really, really well for any team he's on. So it'll be interesting. And then you got Chris Paul, talking about Chris Paul. I mean, any contender, you try to get him another big contract. I mean, are the Spurs just going to take DeRozan? Are they just going to blow the whole thing up? I don't know. There's a lot of questions in our league right now that'll be answered next month or so.
There is one team, Shams mentioned them, that I'd be stunned if they don't make a deal before the trade deadline in February. That's the Denver Nuggets. They've got so many assets potentially to offer teams. You'll be able to see the Denver Nuggets Tuesday night on TNT. Great Tuesday night matchup here. Nuggets and Sixers. Jokic and Embiid. Oh, that's a fun one. Coverage begins right here on NBA TV with the warm-up at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's tomorrow night. We're underway in the Fieldhouse. Paul George back in Indiana.
He knows that place well. He knows the rims. I bet he pulls. Yep.
He's got 5 early points. Clippers and Pacers tied at 13 over on League Pass. Will continue to get you up to speed on that game as we gear up for our game on NBA TV just after 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Chris Middleton, the All-Star, and the Milwaukee Bucks looking for a 15th straight win. You'll see it live coming up on NBA TV.
Is he good enough, Jimmy, as a second player?
Don't know.
Welcome on into Studio B for the first time tonight. Kevin Mchale's a little ticked off. He wanted to be on camera earlier in the show, but we had to get through all of the headlines tonight.
Can I add something here? When you introduce Kevin Mchale to Hall of Fame, can I get something maybe played on the most teams? Something. I need something else just besides. It just goes from highlight to nothing.
I know. I do struggle with that. Yeah. So because of that, we have a special segment dedicated to you later in the show.
Okay.
We do.
We're
going to honor you tonight.
All right.
Fantastic.
A special anniversary for you tonight.
See, if you ask, you shall receive.
Yeah, exactly.
No question.
He is Jim Jackson. I am Jared Greenberg. Welcome to the program. So we've spent the better portion of the last week all having a conversation about what happened last Tuesday night in San Antonio. And now the final word has come down from the commissioner's office, I think as most people anticipated. Yep. They're not going to replay the last 7 minutes and 50 seconds. They're not going to overturn the victory for the Spurs and give it to the Rockets. Your reaction to what came out today?
Well, I got the right there, the Rockets protest thing and what the league sent out. So really what the league said is the Rockets had sufficient time to overcome our terrible call in the remainder of the fourth quarter and 2 subsequent overtime periods. So they suck worse than we suck. And that's what they should have said because, I mean, if you're not good enough to overcome our crappy calls, what the hell are you doing playing? Well, how would you write this? Why wouldn't you just write the protest was not granted?
Yeah.
And it's really? Like, they're worse than we are.
But
we may suck, but you suck worse.
But they did. You know, Houston submitted this as they knew they weren't going to win it, but they kind of stick it to the NBA to admit that they were wrong. So the NBA just said, okay, yeah, we were wrong, but you had a chance to still win the game, and you didn't take care of it. So,
but like I'm saying, like, you know what? We may stink, but you're way worse because you can't overcome our bad calls.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't write that. That is ridiculous.
So here's the play.
Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
James Harden. Listen, you look here. Harden even thinks he misses it.
But that's why you got 3 officials on the court. You should be able to correct this. When anything that goes towards the basket, a shot taken, you should be able to review and correct that.
Yes, and look, they were arguing over this thing, and Mike D'Antoni was there fighting like crazy to get a replay. The whole thing was botched. But the thing that's worse is the response from the league. Like, you can't say that. Just say we did not grant their protest.
Here's what you have to like from the league: the fact that they admitted that every part of this was wrong, right? The officials missed the call.
Yeah.
They misapplied the challenge rule, right? So they're owning up to it, and they're saying, listen, people make mistakes. But what I think they don't want to overshadow this is that is not why you lost the game, that you were leading by 20.
But they don't have to say that,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
If they're the league, they don't have to kind of dumb it down a little bit in order to take a shot back at the Rockets, who they know purposely submitted.
When you start your thing, the Rockets had sufficient time. When you start that's the way that you're going to announce it. As I said, you guys suck worse than we do. You cannot do that. That irritates me.
What's that, Commissioner?
Adam. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yes.
I get another call.
Yes, Kevin Mchale will be done. We have the game, yes. And he'll be, yes. He'll be available at 8:10 Eastern to chat with you.
I just think, honestly, there was a different way to word this. When I first read this, I just went, there's no way the league did that.
Yeah.
I thought
somebody had to approve that, too. Now, somebody may have written it. Now, somebody said, no, that's good.
That's good, yeah, I'm with you. Well, I wanted the guy who said that's good, yeah. Bad enough the guy that wrote it.
The statement that's coming out is the one on you right now. Kevin Mchale, the Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer.
That's Hall of Fame. Can they take that away from you?
They might after this.
Limelight
my
presented
butter.
by Corona Extra. Did you recognize that the Milwaukee Bucks are hot? They won 14 in a row tonight. They'll go for a 15th straight win. We have them on NBA TV. You have the Bucks and you have the Magic coming up just after 8 o'clock Eastern when Kevin Mchale will be in the office getting screamed at. You have something positive you want to say about the way Giannis has been playing?
Yes, of course. I like Giannis, and I like the Bucks. I think they're going against the Magic, who are starting to find a little bit of a way to score a little bit more. But the Magic started off this season just not being able to score at all. But the Bucks are just going to keep putting it on you. Any turnover that happens, they get an open court. Giannis is unstoppable. If you make a mistake in any kind of his pick and rolls, especially when he's setting the pick, and give him that little pocket pass, and he has an angle going to the basket, he dunks it on you. He lives in the paint, and he's actually making some threes now, which is really scary. And the thing I really like about him, he'll take a couple threes. He misses them. He quits taking them. He's like, you know what, man? My bread is buttered in the paint, and he just attacks. So I really like the way the Bucks are playing. And they haven't lost in over a month. I mean, that's a long time in the NBA.
Well, that's great focus, though. This is a team that I think, by losing last year, have so much more to prove to themselves.
Yeah.
Not just the fans, but to themselves, that they can get it done. And why not take advantage of it? In particular, we're going to judge them, too, not by just the wins, but who you beat and how you beat them. Okay, that's losing to bad teams, like we talked about earlier.